Hello, my dear friends. This is Rohini Marathi with Magic Inclined. And on today's show, I'm so excited to announce that we have Michael and Bianca from Conscious Living. Conscious Living is a fun lifestyle series now streaming on Amazon Prime and premiering on PBS for its 4th season. During the series, Michael and Bianca travel the globe on a hunt for what it takes to be a more mindful human. How fun! Let's get to it. Welcome to the show, Michael and Bianca. I'm so excited to have you here.
Thank you so much for having us, Rohini. We are very honored to be a part of your great work.
Oh, thank
Happy
you.
to be here.
Yay. I'm so excited. So you put out so many beautiful things into the world. Would you mind telling us a little bit about what you do?
Yes, so we are the hosts and executive producers of Conscious Living, which is a travel lifestyle show all about how to be a more mindful human, lots of fun ways to take the adventure of consciousness. And it is airing now on PBS stations across the country.
Oh, what my goodness. So how did you come to this line of work?
Oh boy, that's a good question. We were struck by lightning, and it all became clear. I think for me, this was just really it was, well, maybe not lightning, but we were certainly struck by the Holy Spirit, shall we say. We were on our honeymoon in Bali, literally on a beach, and this idea came to us, was conceived in that moment on a beach in Bali, into that we wanted to create a television program that was about raising people's vibration and was about uplifting, and was really an opportunity to share our struggle and our journey in being more conscious, and at the same time will add to putting seeds of positivity and seeds of light and seeds of love into television screens all over the world. And so that was really the genesis or the birth of Conscious Living.
Oh my goodness. I was going to ask, were you literally struck by lightning? I was shook for a second, but that sounds so cool. Did you have any TV experience prior to this, or this was just a literal gift from the universe?
I would say it was a literal gift from the universe. Bianca does have, and did have at the time, quite a bit of television experience, both as a behind the camera lawyer for television shows and large movie studios. And then at the time, she was also hosting shows in front of the camera on TV Guide and TV One and Lifetime. So we did have that, sort of that experience. But I was a brand newbie. I'd never had any television experience before.
That's really cool. What a great team then. And I feel like there is something magical about Bali, because just from stories, I've never been personally, but the stories I hear about people going, and like usually a lot of them come back with like really big epiphanies for life. Do you feel like the location had anything to do with it, or was like this idea brewing up over time?
Well, both. I mean, absolutely. Bali is a magical, enchanted island. The energy is so powerful there. First of all, just geographically, it's a vortex, and many have sort of connected it to the divine feminine energy, the energy of the mother, the womb, the nurturer. And that's what you feel as soon as you set foot on the island, is just this magical sense of connection, not just to the earth and to others, but you feel more deeply connected to yourself. So it's a great place for anyone looking to dive deeper, to maybe uncover some of the layers that we put on from our societal or parental programming, and to launch and plant seeds in this divine womb for what we want to create in the world and who we want to be. And we did not know that, kind of happenstance, universe guiding us when we decided to go to Asia for our honeymoon, but discovered it. The energy was just so powerful. We felt compelled to finally put in writing, after years of me being in television and Michael having a background as a very dedicated and talented environmentalist, nutritionist, and holistic practitioner. We merged those two backgrounds and my passion for justice and social justice as a trained attorney to want to be a part of the solution. When we turn on TV and mainstream news, a lot of it just seems so negative. So we said, let's start thinking about how we can be part of the solution. And we went to our honeymoon, and then on a beach in Bali is where the idea was born. But Bali is just a magical place for us. And we're sad we weren't able to go back this past year and are hoping to go back. But one of the things that you'll see in this season of Conscious Living on PBS are lots of great stories about our Bali experiences, from a Bali raw chef training that Michael did, just adding to his wonderful repertoire of recipes. I'm so grateful for. We did lots of healing, an Ayurvedic traditional Panchakarma retreat in Ubud, and lots of other stories about organic gardening and healing and yoga, and just the journey of transformation that we're all on. And that's really what conscious living is about. We're beginners on this journey every day, and we try to bring a light to people who are guiding us along the way.
Oh my goodness. It sounds so magical. What a cool way to live. So what has been your favorite experience on your adventures? I know that's like a really loaded question too, because I'm sure like every experience has its own magic, but like what really stands out to you? What really changed your life, your course, anything?
Well, there's so many different elements to that question. I'll say one magical experience, because there's so many, was on Bali. And we met a gentleman named Kailash Kokapelli while we were there. And he's been a sound healer for 30 years, since the 80s, and really is a deeply gifted multi-instrumentalist. And his instruments, and his instruments are his teachers and are his master. And from the didgeridoo to these multi flutes that he plays at the same time, to drums, to his vocals, and so we filmed and captured a healing an in-depth sound healing that he did with Bianca. And for me, it was really powerful, both as both to be in that intimate, very, very intimate moment of healer, healed spirit, and sort of the dance between them, and this incredible music. It was on this beautiful, a bluff overlooking the river in Bali. And as a filmmaker, to be in there and to sort of have access to that intimate moment, and then know that I was going to then share that with our viewers, and so they can really have that intimate experience, that incredibly powerful experience. It was really life-changing for me.
Wow, that sounds incredible. Sound is just like such pure medicine that oftentimes gets overlooked,
Yeah.
How magical though that is. Okay. So I have another question for you. So this last year, since like COVID hit and like travel has been limited, where are you going with the show with that in mind?
Yeah. Well, for us, conscious living is about a journey, and it's both a metaphysical journey as well as a physical journey.
Awesome.
The one thing about physical journeys that is not so conscious is the fact that, particularly if you want to travel to far distances like Indonesia or India or Europe, Berlin, some of the places that we travel in this season on PBS, guess what? You got to get on a plane, unless you're going to take the long, month-long boat ride. Few of us have time for that. So that means that your carbon footprint, of course, travel is one of the biggest contributors to global warming. And we want to love planet Earth. We want to take care of planet Earth. And so we offset all of the carbon emissions from our travel. And that's something that everyday consumers can do, whether it's offsetting the energy you use at home, offsetting your travel, your car, transport, et cetera, et cetera. So traveling for us is always, we want to be considerate of, do we need to go here? Is there a better way that we can travel? Can we be more aware of places that maybe aren't as trodden on the earth, and go to more remote areas so we're not contributing to the tourism, et cetera, et cetera. But coming up next season, we've got a lot of travels on the list, and a lot of them are right here in the United States, where we can just hop in the car, plug up the Tesla, and go with minimal impact, and doing it in a way that highlights some of the local treasures we have right here in good old USA.
Oh, I love that. And I love that you are conscious about offsetting the carbon emissions or anything like that. And it's really something we all need to start considering and thinking about, given the health of our planet and ourselves. Seeing the connection between how healthy our planet is and how healthy we can be is like a mind-blowing place to be at. What are some great tips that you can give our listeners about cutting down their carbon footprint?
Well, I think, I think the first is just adopting a plant-based diet. Like, it is literally the single biggest thing that any of us can do to reduce our impact on Mother Earth. Like 70 to 80%, we can reduce our carbon impact just by adopting a whole food plant-based diet and giving up meat and dairy. And, it's hard. Like, I was addicted to cheese for a long time, and it's really challenging to do. But, what we're all sort of faced with now, and many of us are like, we're seeing what the reports are saying, and we're seeing like, hey, we're at a code red. And, it's easy. I know for me, sometimes I get like sort of climate crisis angst, and I start freaking out about it, and like, okay, what are we doing? And oh my God, and the fires. And I mean, it's so in our face. And, part of the journey of mindfulness is saying, okay, but what can I do? And I can stop, eating meat. I can, for me, it's like, it's hard to do though. Like, because for example, I love, green tea lattes with, with steamed almond milk from coffee bean. And it's difficult because I end up using a single plastic, use cup. And I know that it's bad for the environment. And yet, I am on the journey, and I think we are on the journey. And that's really what the show is about, is like, we're all on this journey together. What can we do right now? What are we struggling with? And let's all come up with innovative solutions together and share those.
Yeah. And I mean, I think, going plant-based is definitely one of the biggest one. Great for the planet, great for your health. But there's lots of other things that you can do, like eco-fashion. I mean, just the impact of the tons and tons and tons of textiles thrown away from the average household, over a course of a few years, glutting our landfills, which are filled to the brim, so much so that certain countries aren't even accepting our recycling anymore, right? We can actually make a more conscious choice and think about eco-fashion. So, things you'll see covered on the show this season and every season are sustainable, renewable materials. And there's a great episode where we're in Hong Kong, and we take the viewers front row to an eco-fashion couture upcycled textile fashion show. And these designs are so amazing. You can't even believe they're sustainable. You can't believe they're upcycled. There's so much innovation that's happening. So whether it's from, what you eat to what you wear, to the products that you use. When Michael and I first got together, I was doing the laundry, and he was like, why are you using Tide? Don't you know that Tide laundry detergent, kills 1 cubic foot of phytoplankton, which is contributing to global warming? And I was like, what? The laundry detergent I use? He's like, yeah. And the personal care products you use, your deodorant with aluminum can cause you breast cancer. And all of those chemicals get washed off into our rivers and streams. And so there's so many ways to feel empowered about sort of the bad news that's happening. And the question is, what choice are you going to make that will take you on the next step in the continuum towards mindfulness?
She actually said, if you want to use a different laundry detergent, you can clean your own dirty drawers.
That's not a lie. It's true. It's true. It's true. And I was like, resistant as we all are to change.
Yeah.
Why do I have to be conscious and look at my choices? Why do I have to be introspective? I look at what I'm doing. I'm doing so much, so much arrogance that we have. And that's a piece of why the planet is in despair right now. It's because we're all just like, I'm doing the best I can. Why should I work harder? And it's like, well, maybe we can be a little more introspective, a little more humble, a little more willingness to just ask the question. We're not here to tell anyone what the answers should be. We're just here sharing our journey about asking questions. And with each question, there's always a choice, right? And the choice is yours, right? So it's definitely for us, a labor of love, because constantly we are challenged when we look in the mirror and realize all the ways we're not being conscious, which is more often than not, so we're on the journey just like everyone else, and, hope to share kind of the collective spirit together, that maybe we can all together encourage each other to do what we can to do better.
Absolutely. And, I love the way you both presented that whole idea where it's just like little tiny decisions in our day could make such a big impact. And I feel like a lot of times when I've personally brought up ways people can live more consciously, the receiver often feels attacked. And I know, like, I'm not even using attacking language,
Yes.
To educate, but I feel like people need to just like be okay with not knowing everything, and that like it's okay if you made a mistake and you were doing this, but now that you know, what do you choose? So I really I am such a fan of what you're doing, because it's going to impact the world so much. And thank you for that. So
thank you so much. And I just, on that point, I think it's really important for us, being a show and being a platform and being human beings, that we're not here to judge other people for what they're not doing. We're simply asking ourselves, is there more we could do? And so really reframing it in the positive, helps to create a safe space for all of us to ask those powerful questions. And I think it's so much more enrolling. We're not here to be, angry vegans are not like inspiring anybody to go to hell, right? It's like, I'm angry at you and you're wrong and you're going to go to hell. It's like, nobody's inspired to do that.
No.
It's like, what we use is like, hey, do you want to try this delicious, gooey, cheesy vegan pizza that's fresh made out of the oven in this Napolitan, restaurant in Berlin? It's like, yeah, I want a piece of that. Give me some, you taste it, you try it, and you're like, hey, this is pretty good. So that's really our approach, is just being more inclusive. And, we're all human beings and we all have faults and we all have work to do. Let's, chip in, be humble, and start having a conversation where we all can, take whatever that next step.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I think, part of it is like, we don't, fortunately, given the nature of our relationship, like we're always checking each other on like, the ways that we're being unconscious, you know what I mean? So we say conscious living was built on blood, sweat, tears, and curse words. Like, it's really one of those things where we're constantly saying, okay, I can do better. I could do better. Or the other person's like, hey, are you sure you want to show up that way? But, part of it, I think also is that part of this conversation is about what's happening globally inside of, the shift that we're going through as a planet. Like, it's almost like environmental fragility. And, that environmental fragility tracks white fragility. And that part of, me that doesn't have a tolerance for, for my own, ways that I'm racist, or lack stamina and being able to have difficult conversations on race, which also tracks my, patriarchy fragility. And that part of me that's not willing to look at like how I could show up differently as a man. And I think part of what we're talking about is like, it's almost like capitalist fragility, like this idea that or American fragility, like we're doing everything we can. And so don't even question us. Don't ask me to give up, my car, or give up this meat, or give up all these other things that you're asking me to do. Like, it's just not okay for me to have that conversation. So I think this is a time for me of introspection and really humility, and saying, okay, how can I approach this differently?
I love it. It is all so connected, and it's something we forget often, I'm so inspired already. Well,
that's good.
So is, based on like the response on taking cooking classes and everything, are there any like really cool recipes that are your go-tos that are plant-based and conscious in in like the way you use the ingredients, or I don't even know what I'm asking. I'm pretty much like hungry now after I heard gooey cheese pizza.
Yeah.
So I'm like, what's your favorite recipe?
I think we're talking about food magic. I think,
Is it lunchtime right now?
I think so. like she said, gooey cheese vegan pizza. And that sounds so good.
It does, and it was.
It was actually so good, and you'll see this in the episode that the guy that was one of the co-owners. It was owned as a co-op in Berlin. He was started eating the food that we were going to film and eat, and he almost ate the whole thing. And he was he had to literally check himself. We were like, can we still film and have some?
Can we just film the pizza before it's gone? He was like, it's so good. I'm so sorry. And you'll see him like literally noshing on the pizza. It's funny. It's funny.
Oh my goodness. Was that your favorite meal?
I would say yes. I would say that was certainly one of my favorite meals. One of the things that I love is comfort food that's delicious and like super convenient. So a lot of times I'll end up doing meat replacements from the canned jackfruit that you get at Trader Joe's. So jackfruit is basically, kind of like a tasteless chicken type substance. But when you add sauces, you can add, sometimes I'll do it as a quesadilla and I'll just add like the taco mix from Trader Joe's as well. Just pan fry it up for 5 minutes or whatever, and it tastes. It has that same great texture. A lot of times you can make it taste and feel like carnitas. So I love jackfruit, either burritos or tacos, and it's super easy. It's already cooked. It's sort of like a no-brainer. So I know a lot of moms that's their go-to as well. Tempeh, we really love tempeh. Tempeh is such a great sort of like meat alternative. So you can there's some super easy. You can just Google like tempeh bacon. You can turn it into like a bacon flavor. And there's and really the fact of the matter is that there's never been a better time to go plant-based. There's so many ridiculous like Impossible Burgers and Beyond Burgers, I think most people know about, but that's just like the tip of the iceberg for how many amazing foods there are, cheeses there are, meats there are. For next season, one of the stories that we have on next season is when we went to Paris. We discovered this vegan place, and they literally make the most incredible brie, camembert, all the favorite French cheeses that I used to love when I 10 plus years ago when I ate cheese, and they make it all out of basically the water that comes from cooking beans. Aquafaba it's called, and it's incredible. So there's a tremendous amount of innovation happening in the plant-based world right now.
Oh my gosh. I agree with all of that, but I do have to ask you, what do you remember the name of this place in Paris that you went to? Because I was just there like right before the 2020 happened, and my family and I went to this little plant-based vegan like cafe kind of thing where they make all the cheese too, and we fell so deeply in love with vegan French cheese that we have been looking for ways to import it since coming back. Like, how do we get our hands on this cheese? Do you remember the name of the place that you went to?
Oh my gosh. I remember, I believe it was in the 13th arrondissement. Was that where yours was? It was like a cafe.
And it had a green like on
like
it.
A green on. I can forgetting the name of it. Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, I can't remember the name, but they had like the like vegan sausages they made and stuff.
Yes, homemade sausages, and they had a big bar right in the middle, right?
Yes.
Yep.
Oh my gosh.
That's them. It's like French bistro or something like French bistro or something like right on the corner, and there's stairs. I think we went to the same place. There's only so many of those, I think, in Paris, but who knows? There may have been many more since we were last there.
Yeah, I know. I was so blown away because I'm like, oh, it's going to be sad going to Paris and not being able to eat the cheese. But then we discovered just like the best cheese ever.
Yeah. Jeez. Lo and behold, big surprise. And that's the thing. A lot of people, you're traveling. Oh, it's going to be so hard to go vegan. No, it isn't.
No,
Have you heard of the Happy Cow app? That's how we found it. In fact,
too.
many of our
Love that app.
I love that app. It's like everywhere we go, like that's where we know where we're heading next. And in fact, it's been a big impetus in many of our stories because we're like, well, where do you want to hang out in this city? We love to walk and bike and just sort of get into the nooks and crannies of wherever we go, kind of off the beaten tourist track, so to speak. And Happy Cow is a great way to do that because it's taken us into, parts of cities that we never would have gone to, but for chasing down this restaurant because it got 4-star reviews, from all the vegans around the world who've eaten there. So it's just a great way to explore and eat well and also eat the local cuisine that's indigenous to the area, while, discovering new foods, right? And I don't know if they make any of that here in the US, but there are a lot of great brands. Miyoko's I think did she go public or just got
got a big investment.
Huge investment. So
Miyoko.
there's just going to be many more of those coming. And I think we're going to have no excuse not to eat plant-based because there's nothing that you have to give up.
Absolutely. I'm so excited for this and all for it. I grew up as a vegetarian and just like going to restaurants was kind of easy because there's only one thing you could eat off the menu, but also really difficult. Yeah, it's like, I can have the salad, cool. But it's kind of overwhelming and exciting how much options there are out there now. It's really a cool time to be alive and so easy to like jump on the let's save the planet wagon by changing our diet.
It is. And fact of the matter is, at least, in my experience, I got smarter when I went plant-based. Like cheese made me dumb.
Yeah, no, I completely can attest to that as well.
Yeah. And also my meditations improved dramatically as well when I wasn't taking in the sort of suffering of animals.
Absolutely.
It's, it has a difference. It makes a difference.
It really does make a difference. Like vibrations are real,
Yes, they are.
Absolutely. I mean, who wants to take on the vibration of fear and the vibration of terror
and
that animal must experience at the time that it's murdered? Because, obviously, free range, great. That's good. They get to live a life where they're not cooped up in a, 2x2 cage. Wonderful. Humane. Okay. Humane up until the moment they're murdered, kind of like, regardless of how they're treated up until that point, and regardless of what your philosophy is on eating animals or not eating animals, that's up to you. We're not telling anybody what to do. There is a vibration of those emotions that are still in the tissues, that's still in the flesh. And we're ingesting that. And, Absolutely. It may not make you a mean person, but over time, those vibrations accumulate, right? It's like you want to have crystals in your house and you want to, have an EMF blocker. It's like the vibration of the energy that's in that meat is going into you and it can cause the anxiety, the depression, the rage, all the things that we as a society are battling. We have an opportunity to take one of those, obstacles off of our list. It's like, okay, at least I'm not ingesting that vibration. That doesn't mean I'm not putting it out, sometimes.
Yeah.
I'm trying
we are human.
Yeah. We're human. I'm trying to minimize the load here. That's really all.
I do have to add to that, like, I am completely 100% behind like indigenous cultures and their practices. And whenever I'm talking about the meat production and this kind of stuff is like farmed meat industry, farmed dairy industry, which is hurting our planet in every way possible.
Yeah, absolutely. And the indigenous, there was a symbiotic relationship between them and the animals for millennia. And that's something that we honor and we celebrate. But I think it's really the sort of the colonialism of the colonialist thinking that began this idea that not only is white better than brown, but we now white people now need to dominate the brown people, but also it's been that sort of energetic of exploitation, and we need to get ours, and that has caused this imbalance inside of our animal husbandry and our diets and eating meat and eating dairy and things like that, versus the symbiotic relationship that the indigenous have with their food.
Yeah, and I would say also the aspect of circle culture versus pyramid culture. One of the things we've
Yeah.
seen in documenting many indigenous cultures around the world is there's a circle inclusivity where everyone's treated equally. You know, there will be a chief, there will be a shaman or a medicine man sort of person that sits in the center of the circle and guides and heals everyone, but no person is above another person. And, you know, these hierarchical pyramid like, you know, very, I think more masculine out of balance structures is a big piece of what says it's okay for one person to exploit and oppress another. And the same thing happens in our relationships, you know, between men and women and, you know, all different, you know, on the continuum of gender and sexuality. There's this consciousness where, you know, we're kind of battling against sort of ideas of inequality that we've been born and bred with and socialized to believe. And we're just beginning to start deconstructing and dismantling them now. And that's a big piece of conscious living. Social justice, you know, it has to be a part of the conversation.
Absolutely. Oh my goodness. It's kind of like the root of it all at this point.
Yeah.
Well, since we're on this topic too, I have a favorite question to ask people who tap into the spiritual part of themselves, because this is like something that I have really been investigating within myself. And it's like there is no answer that I've come up with, and it's so unclear to me. So I love hearing the perspective of people such as yourselves. Do you believe in good and evil?
Well, I don't. I'll say this: I don't believe in good or evil. I don't believe in, you know, the constructs of what I call Maya or delusion or the cosmic delusion that we believe is reality. You know, what I believe is that the world that we see and feel and understand with our senses is but 1% of actual reality. And the true reality is beyond the senses. It's metaphysical. And that's the 99%. So inside of that, what I perceive as good and what I perceive as evil, you know, is part of my own layer of delusion. It's part of my own lens. And so I believe we can make choices that will bring us closer to spirit, closer to love, closer to peace, closer to understanding, or in the opposite direction of peace, love, harmony, unity. And so that's sort of, you know, my directional compass. Good and bad, good and evil can, you know, be helpful, you know, from a beginning of spiritual discernment sort of on the journey, but it can also sort of give us a pass, right? And sort of, you know, alleviating our own responsibility and sort of checking a box of dogmatic, right? This religion is good. This race is good.
Yeah.
The government is bad. Like, it kind of allows us to stop critical thinking and to stop using our spiritual discernment. So, you know, I prefer a softer approach, you know, in the words of Rumi, I'm sure you can definitely appreciate, you know, there is a field, right? Beyond ideas of right doing and wrong doing, there is a field. I'll meet you there, right? And what is beyond those two ideas as we transcend the paradox that delusion has given us that makes us want to kill one another for our religion. You're good, I'm bad, right? Who am I to say what anyone is? But I can make a choice towards love. I can make a choice that transcends the things that divide us. And I feel like that's what helps me keep moving forward.
Oh my goodness. Oh, so beautifully said. Thank you.
Thank you for allowing me to say it. You know, Spirit telling me what to say. And I'm just like, wow, okay. I'll see if I can live up to that one.
My heart is just like exploding. That was like so beautifully put. And that Rumi quote, like holding tears right now.
Oh, I love Rumi. I love all of the Sufis, all of the poets. They take us to a land beyond ourselves. And I think that's what with art and poetry and music and photography, you know, and nature, you know, can do for us. They take us beyond ourselves.
Yeah. And it transcends time. Like every poem that I read, I'm like, this is so, like, this makes sense for this time, for today. And this was written like so long ago. It's amazing.
It's amazing. And one of my favorite, you know, philosophers is Lao Tzu, you know, the Tao. It's just the philosophy. Every time I sit and read, and I've read it, you know, from cover to cover so many times, but it's as if it's the first time, you know, because our consciousness is always shifting and evolving. And it's just, there's such a simplicity and power and wisdom and divinity, you know, using very few words, right? It's incredible what's possible, you know, when we are able to kind of get outside of ourselves or get maybe deeper inside of ourselves.
I love that. And I feel like this is like a really good time to ask you, what is one thing you would like to leave for our listeners?
Such a good question. I think, the main thing is that, our journey is a journey of progress, not perfection. And, inside of that, all we can do is really take it one day at a time, is take this journey of life one day at a time. It would appall me to think about it if I had to keep up for a lifetime, some of the things that I'm asked to do on a moment to moment basis. And, the biggest thing is, for me and for us, I think this is a journey of forgiveness. It's a journey of love. It's a journey of really, doing our stumbling best to stay beginners and realizing that, that I will always be a beginner at being a beginner. And if I allow myself and allow yourself to embrace that possibility, inside of that, there's really magic that can happen. Life can become very, very magical in that space of love and surrender and progress, not perfection, and really taking it one day at a time.
Yeah. That's the challenge, right? That is the challenge, and I would say if our viewers, our fans, our readers, and just the audience, they have ideas about things that work for them, like, hit us up, reach out to us. Like, we need as much help as anyone else. In fact, we need all the help we can get. So I love hearing ideas and of how other people have overcome, spiritual, emotional, personal challenges, and what a challenging year or couple years it has been. We all need help.
I love that. Thank you so much for being here with me today and giving so much magic to our listeners. I am so excited to follow your journey on conscious living, and thank you for embodying it. I hope you have a beautiful day. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you so much for, having us on the show, and for all of your love and this beautiful sacred space you're holding and the work that you're doing for more magic to be possible in the world.
Oh, thank you. Until next time.
Okay.
Thank you, Rohini.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. We truly enjoyed making it for you. If you'd like to learn more about Bianca and Michael, please visit consciouslivingtv.com. And please remember to rate, comment, and share this episode so more magic people like you can find it. Until next time, friends.